Hi, we are live. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Lauren DeLaguna, and tonight I have with me a very wonderful guest. Before we get into it and talking to Flat Earth Dave, who is to my right, I wanted to just start off with a quick story. If you haven't heard it, it's too bad, but essentially there was this scientist. The scientist went out to discover if the earth was the center of the universe, like the Catholic Church had told him. And he had done many experiments. And after his many studies, this scientist concluded actually, no, the sun is the center of the earth or center of our universe. And the earth just goes around the sun. So that scientist's name was Galileo. The Catholic Church ended up murdering Galileo for his beliefs, and therefore they really made a poor decision, and they've had to atone for that decision because that was murder and that's against the Bible. And so we don't want to make that same decision here tonight in the chats. We want to be as lovely to our guests as possible. We do have a little bit of a sound delay, so that means we're going to have to be really careful about not talking over each other. But I am so happy to have Mr. Flat Earth Dave here from Connecticut. Hello, Flat Earth Dave. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. This will be a fun conversation. We talked a little bit before the show. So you're coming from I believe, what I was taught in school perspective, pretty much.
Yes, yes.
All right. And so
Mm-hmm.
you brought up Galileo. So I always like to bring up these are the guys that have sold us the heliocentric model. You got Pythagoras, Copernicus, Galileo. And their stories are quite amazing and unbelievable. It is, in my opinion, that there is just as much of a possibility that these men never existed than the stories that we've been told by the people that write the history books, because it's his story written by the victors, right? You know, one of the things that we're told is that the Greeks figured it out 2,000 years ago with Aristophanes and his sticks and shadows. You're familiar with that story?
Okay.
It,
The sticks
it,
and shadows. Are you talking about Plato's allegory of the cave?
no, that's different. Um, so the story is Aristophanes. He figured that, hey, the sun rays come in parallel from an infinitely far sun, 93 million miles, whatever. And he measured shadows. He said, hey, on a certain day, I can see the sun reflecting off the bottom of a well. That means the sun is directly above him. So then he sent his buddy 500 miles away, who counted his paces. That's how he knew he went 500 miles. And he put a stick up at the same time and measured the angle. And by measuring the angle, he figured out the of the earth, right? So here's the parallel rays coming in. Here's Aristophanes, and there's no shadow on his stick. And his buddy, 500 miles away, has a shadow, and he measures the length of the shadow, does some really good calculus, some spherical geometry or whatever, and figures out the radius of the earth. Carl Sagan pushed that in Cosmos. It's in every kid's astronomy book, and it's basically taught as a fact. But the truth is, on the flat Earth model, we have a small local sun. So here's Aristophanes. He's got no shadow on his stick here. Here's his buddy 500 miles away, and he has the shadow, and he does the same math, and he determined that this flat plane is a sphere. So math is not reality. Math can describe whatever parameters you want to give it. Okay?
What year was Aristophanes around? Like what time frame, do you know?
17, like 2,000 years ago. And the funny thing is, there is other famous mathematicians that came out of that area of the world that wrote many books, and none of them ever mentioned Aristophanes in his sticks and shadows experiment. The guy that figured out the size of the earth is never mentioned in another book. That's like leaving Michael Jordan out of the history of the Chicago Bulls. Okay, I forgot
Wouldn't want to
the
do
most
that.
important player. Most important player.
Mm.
So I like to say, that anything that you didn't see yourself, you need to verify the story that you're being told. You need some evidence. We can't verify everything. You got to have some belief. Like, you have a belief. You believe that I live in
Mhm.
Connecticut.
Because you told me this.
Is it a belief or do you know it?
It is a belief because
It's a
I
belief,
am
and
believing you.
because you're believing me, right? And you know what? So going through life, we must take the time. We can't take the time to investigate every single thing we're told. We have to use our intuition. We have to use our common sense. It's like, why would he lie about that? Right. I live in Connecticut. But if you wanted to know it, you can take some time. You could research. You could look me up. You could find my friends. You could find my high school. All right, he lives in Connecticut. So quoting these men from the past that you've never met, and then their stories. Galileo with his he's got a metal tube, and he polishes some glass and puts it in there, and he gets a better look at Mars than we can with our best telescopes today. Right? The details that he gave about Mars are better than we can see with all our Vatican-owned giant telescopes all over the Earth. That's a problem, don't you think?
I could see your point of view. I don't know how he would come to the conclusions that he came to. Who, just out of curiosity, just looking at your photo over there, who came first, Pythagoras or the Apotheles? Is that who you said the scientist was who created this experiment?
No, Aristophanes. Eratosthenes.
Aristophanes.
Yes.
Eratosthenes. Okay. Who
Yeah.
came? Who was first, him or Pythagoras?
You know what? I don't I don't remember the exact dates. I just know that all of their stories, they're all portrayed as Freemasons. And if you look at, they're all out here to prove that we live on a globe and that it was solved over 2,000 years ago. But the truth is, they were teaching flat Earth here in the early 1900s. In the early 1900s, I interviewed a 102-year-old woman back in February of 2020. February 2020, interesting time. And I was interviewing her about the World's Fairs, which is another rabbit hole. And her memory was so good. She was 102. And I said, "What did they teach you in science class about the Earth?" And that's all I said. And she goes, "They taught me the Earth was flat. But then years later, they changed the story." And we found other people in other countries that they say were teaching in the 30s and 40s. We even found a guy in Mexico last year that said he in the late 1950s they were still teaching globe and flat here in public schools in America and in Canada. Okay, so
Hmm.
all of a sudden the Rockefellers take over the school system, take over the medical system too, and they wipe out any mention of flat Earth. Okay, they wipe out any mention of flat Earth. So I find that kind of interesting.
Okay, interesting. Well, you did you find any textbooks with flat Earth theory taught at those times in public schools? Like, could you find any prior curriculum or anything like that? And I
We
love
found
how
an
you have all of your receipts ready to go. I find this very
uh,
impressive. You probably the
there's
most prepared person I've ever met.
There's this is called the Gleason's map. It's the only map that's used for navigation. They still use it today for airlines and whatnot. But it was in all schools and libraries, and they took it out in the 1950s. They just removed it, and you've never seen it. And it's the map that shows the true area of our world. As far as other books, we've been looking for old textbooks. You know how in school, remember when you're in school, you have your textbooks, and then the next year they change the textbook, but they want all the old textbooks back, right? They want all the science books back. And it's so
Mm-hmm.
hard to find these old books. But we did find a
Mm.
1958 Encyclopedia Americana that talked about Antarctica and how it had a dome at 18 degrees south. It was like 1,300,000 feet or something like that. I forget the exact numbers, but in the encyclopedia, they talk about the dome. And if you look in these old encyclopedias, they talk about different areas of Antarctica as Dome A and Dome B and Dome C. Why are they calling all of these areas domes? And in my opinion, I think we have a dome that comes down. It may terminate in Antarctica. It might go much farther. But the, the real thing is we want access to explore these outer lands, what's out there. Okay?
What's preventing
So,
you? Government regulation? Because like
yeah, so
Antarctica is
well,
nowhere. It's no country could like own Antarctica. So is that the
well,
problem? You have to have like some sort of scientific reason to go there, correct?
So the problem is there is the Antarctic Treaty in 1940s and 50s that had Project High Jump where we started exploring Antarctica. And Admiral Byrd said he went beyond the South Pole. He saw land bigger than the United States, filled with resources, no people, no animals, no nothing, just coal, oil, uranium, everything you need. It's just laden with it. And but think about this. He said beyond the South Pole. Wouldn't he say south of Australia? Because beyond the South Pole, right? If you're coming from America, you go beyond the South Pole. Well, now you're south of Australia on a ball.
Mm.
But he said beyond the South Pole. Where is this other continent? So it's very interesting. So this is the is like 60 degrees south, this red line, and everything outside of that is off limits. And there's 8 different naval bases. Naval bases, that's what they're called. Eight different is it naval base that will stop you, that guard these waters, and no one is allowed to go
Okay.
there. So if you want to explore Antarctica, you can file all these
Like
permits.
blockades.
It'll cost you over up to $2 million in permit fees, and then if when you're denied, they keep the money. Nobody can independently explore Antarctica.
Um, okay. So so your map, um, how does this map compare to what we're taught in school? Is it like a globe that's flattened and then outside the red zone is Antarctica? And how does
So
the flat earth work? Like, so is Antarctica like the edge all the way around this like pizza shape? And would it, does like, is that what keeps the water in?
yeah, so these are good questions. This is when you search flat Earth. This is what you get. This is from the Flat Earth Society. That's a controlled opposition site that they want you not. They want you believing that's what the Earth is. As I showed you before, we have this the Gleason's map, right? And so think about this: what when it rains and water accumulates, where does it accumulate? At the top of the hill or at the bottom of the hill?
At the bottom.
Right. And
Mm.
what stops the water from flowing away from the puddle? The land that's higher than the water all the way around, right? So large bodies of
Okay.
water at rest need containment. They need lateral pressure. So think of all of our oceans as a giant pond, and the shoreline of our pond is Antarctica. Okay, Antarctica is not at the bottom of a ball, right? Antarctica is the shoreline of our world. You with
So
me?
is it like a dish?
Not like a dish. It's like I call it we live in the Antarctic basin, and is the shoreline of Antarctica is what holds our water in. It's just like a puddle. So if you sail to the edge of our known world, you don't fall off. You step up onto the land. And what's out
Mm.
here? What's out in the outer space, right? So the question is, what did they do? So imagine if we took this, if I cut this out all around here. So I cut it out right out to the side, this white here, and then I wrapped it on a ball. Okay. Now we've taken the outer edges of our known world and we shoved it into Antarctica, and we say, oh, look, this is where you live. This is it. And there's nothing else, right? There are no photos of Antarctica from space, well, or from satellites or from airplanes. You go Google Antarctica from space. This is
Henry,
what you
please
get.
do that.
They're all cartoons.
Those
They're
are
all cartoons.
cartoons. What you mean?
They're all drawings. These aren't real photos. Zoom in, you'll see that these are computer drawn, hand painted. There's no
Henry,
photographs
could
of
you go to
center of
Google?
Antarctica.
Henry, can you please go to Google Maps and go to Antarctica and let's zoom
And
in
now,
on that.
now you will see some photographs of the bases and everything, but the bases are just along the shoreline of our world, right? They're just along the shoreline of our world. There you go. There they are.
Well, okay, let's go to Google Map. You know, we could go to Google Maps and then zoom in. I think that would be
Yeah.
more
Well,
fun
so
for me.
so just hear me out. You can zoom in on all of these areas along the water, but anything that's towards the center of Antarctica, it's just a paint blob.
But how do they make it so that like you could zoom out and then zoom in and not see like that it's not
Oh my
in the
God.
shape?
Well, because you can't go there. Another thing is, when you zoom out anywhere on Earth from Google Earth, you can see where it goes from real imagery from airplanes to a cartoon. You can see right where it switches, right? And it's, if you're not looking, you could like, oh, you don't notice it. But here's something you can do. If you go to Google Earth on your computer, on the web browser of Google Earth, and take the line drawing tool that you can say, all right, let's do a line all around America, and it'll tell you how many square miles it is. You can do it around Australia. You can do it around any islands that you want. You can do it anywhere, except you can't do it
Yeah.
around Antarctica. It won't work around Antarctica because Antarctica
Mhm.
isn't a place like they're telling us. Antarctica is the edge of our known world. What's
What's
beyond
on the
there?
other
I want to know.
side? What's on the
Underneath.
other side? Yeah. And how
So
thick is the earth? Like how thick is this basin?
yeah, so the question you're asking is what what is what's below the flat Earth, and the answer is how would we know? Because the deepest hole ever dug is called the Great Borehole. It's in Russia, and they drilled this hole, and while they're drilling it, they're using ground penetrating radar to see what they're going to hit next. And they said, "Oh, there's no more rocks." They hit more rocks. There's no more water. They hit more water. There's no more. And so just think of this. They went down 7.5 miles. They were wrong every step of the way. Okay. Then they hit an impenetrable barrier. They tried for years to go through it. Right. They tried for years and they couldn't get through it. So then they were like, oh, well, we know what the core is. Right. They showed us this. This was in every science book. Right. A molten magnetic core. Do you know that when you heat a magnet, before it melts, it's what's called the Curie point, and that's where it loses all of its magnetism. So there's no such thing as a molten magnet. So
Hmm.
an example, here we have the Earth, it's an apple. We drilled only a fraction of the way through the skin of the apple. We were wrong every step of the way, but then we know what the next 4,000 miles are. That's pseudoscience. This is a meme, and you're being taught pseudoscience.
I think it's possible that we are not as certain as to the actual contents of the interior of the earth as we claim to be. Can you go back to the video of, you're so prepared, by the way, with just like videos of
What do
stuff.
you want to
I
go back
really
to?
appreciate that. Of digging, you said in Russia, they try to
Russia. It's
dig to
called
the
it's
center.
called the Korobor. They tried to dig the deepest hole, and it was in I forget where, northern Russia
Oh,
somewhere. And
I know
that's the
Henry's doing a lot right now, but Henry, can you also write this down and look for that next? Well, can you spell that for Henry?
it's called it's called the Kola borehole, I believe. Kola borehole, Russia.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
impressive.
you could look it up. There's tons of information. It's not a conspiracy. The conspiracy is what's below there. What noises did they hear coming out of there when they put a microphone down there? Some really creepy stuff that I still have nightmares about. But who knows if that's even real? I wasn't there when they recorded it. Okay,
What did you
so
hear? What
it
did you
was
hear
it.
allegedly?
Imagine what hell sounds like, but really worse than hell. Okay, with people screaming and just all sorts of stuff. Here's the thing. There is a 50-50 chance that that was completely fake and it was really done really well. Okay? It either was or it wasn't. I don't know. I wasn't there. It rings true to me, but I'm not going to put any weight on it.
Are
So,
you a spiritual man? Do you believe in heaven and hell?
well, before I discovered flat Earth, I was best described as atheist, agnostic, whatever, atheist. I just didn't believe anything. I believed in the Big Bang. I believed that one day, a Jesuit priest said, "Oh, once there was nothing, it exploded and became everything." Not a scientist, a Jesuit priest, and then all of this exploding matter and gas and dust that was traveling faster than the speed of light speed started sticking to each other and creating balls. And all the gases started collapsing in each other and creating nuclear furnaces, okay, which we call stars. And somehow they got so big and powerful that their gravity, before there was gravity, they pulled stuff together using gravity to create gravity. It's the dumbest story ever, okay? And so now we have all of these perfect system of our solar system, right? Where in this random beehive of insanity of things going around and gravitational orbits and binary stars and all of this stuff, somehow it all repeats again and again and again. And we can predict what it's going to do again and again and again. Do you know how many bodies are in our solar system if you count all the moons and all the planets and the sun and everything? You know how many there are?
Are we counting like Pluto? Are we
We're
like
counting
Pluto,
Pluto, we're
like
counting all the moons. But here's the thing.
Planetoid? Are we counting? Are we counting asteroids? Are we counting?
Yeah, we're counting everything. We're counting everything.
I think that's almost. I feel like that's almost uncountable because we have.
You're
so
absolutely right. There is no answer because
stuff.
NASA.
Yeah.
NASA changes it all the time. Well, here's the thing. It's called the three-body problem. So we can take our best physicists, scientists, our best supercomputers in the world, and we could say, hey, we're going to model some gravity. We got a sun. It's got this much gravity, and we got an Earth, a planet. We got this much gravity, and we put it into orbit, and man, that computer can tell you where it's going to be forever. It'll tell you exactly where it's going to be, everything it's going to do. Then you add a third body, something orbiting one or orbiting the other, and the entire thing goes into chaos mode, right? So this is just an example of three equally sized bodies, easier to model that way, and you put them into an orbit, and then all of a sudden, everything goes haywire, and no computer can figure out what it's going to do next. That's three bodies, okay? So we're corkscrew space, right? Do you know the and by the way, I'm going to ask you some questions, and
I would love for Henry to research the three-body problem. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and I got them all wrong. So if you get them all wrong, then you equaled me when I was first asked these questions. All right. Okay, how fast is the Earth spinning at the equator on the heliocentric ball?
How fast is Earth spinning on the equator at the heliocentric
If you're on the equator,
ball?
how fast are you spinning around due to the spin of the Earth? How fast?
I should know this. At one point I did, but I don't recall.
It's just over 1,000 miles an hour because the Earth is 24,901 miles around. Right. So it goes around once a day, 24 hours in a day, about 1,000 miles an hour, 1,034 miles per hour. Okay?
Right.
How fast is the Earth orbiting around the sun? You see how it's orbiting around the sun? How fast, miles per hour, is it going around the sun? It's okay if you don't know.
Yeah, I used to know at one point. I don't. Right. You just take the math and do 365 days. Yeah. Okay.
It's 66,600 miles an hour. Funny number. Okay. Then the Earth is chasing the sun. Look, it's chasing the sun. Okay. At over 500,000 miles per hour. So we're moving in three different directions at once. Now, this is called the hypersonic sled track. If you Google it, it'll have sound. But watch this thing. This is a rocket sled, and they want to see how fast it can go. The fastest they can get it is Mach 8.6. Ready?
Okay.
Can't even see it, right? You can't fathom this speed. You can't fathom double this speed. But you have to believe that we are this rock, right? This lumpy rock floating in floaty space has water around, makes it a sphere, it's smoothed out, and it has spherical air around that adjacent to a void, this giant thing. And it's moving around the sun 10 times faster than this. And it's chasing the sun 100 times faster than this in elliptical orbits, not in a straight line, like when you're on an airplane drinking a glass of water. I'm talking about curved trajectories. Anytime something turns, that's acceleration, even if you're at the same speed.
Is it accelerating? Right. I understand that it's curving, so therefore it's technically accelerating. But is the speed increasing?
Well, the around the sun sure is. As we go towards December, we're speeding up, and December to June, we're slowing down.
No, but I mean, like, are we is the sun continuously speeding up? And it's
the sun is going at a you know what? They don't tell us if it's speeding up or slowing down, but it's going over 500,000 miles per hour.
It's going at a continuous speed, though, and I understand that the Earth fluctuates in its speed based off on where it is in its orbit, but isn't it acceleration that causes like the displacement of physical objects? Like, so for instance, if you're in a car and you're going 60 miles per hour, you don't feel like you're going 60 miles per hour. You feel like you're basically still, you could just talk to the person.
Now let me ask you a question.
But if you accelerate to 80 miles per hour, you'll go, oh, like especially if you do it really quickly. Go ahead, ask
Okay.
your question.
So you're in a car going 100 miles an hour on the perfectly smooth road
Mm-hmm.
with a perfectly great shock system, beautiful. And you get a dinner plate and you fill it with water to the brim. No
Mm-hmm.
problem. Now that car either speeds up or slows down the tiniest bit or takes a slight turn to the left or to the right. What happens to the water?
Well, assuming that the car had some sort of a pull to the water, and like, so in this case, I understand what you're saying, but that water, right, in the model that I was taught in school, the water is gripping to the earth due to Earth's gravity, right? So
Okay.
in your scenario, the water has only the gravity downward and nothing gripping to it to keep it inside of the bowl. But in the scenario in which I was taught in school, because the earth has its own gravitational pull and the water is attracted to that, that's what's keeping the water to, that's actually what keeps the water in the bowl in the scenario, right? So even if it turned, the water still had a bowl and then the gravity pushed it down, which is what kept the water in the bowl. If there was no gravity, then the water would just be floating all over the car in the first place, whether or not
Are
um,
you ready?
we were accelerating. Sure.
I'm going to kindly and gently tell you that everything you just told me was wrong, and I'll explain.
Okay, that's
All right.
fine.
So
Okay.
you weren't taught. You were told, and you were told
Oh.
pseudoscience. You were told that the Earth is has a molten magnetic core, which is scientifically impossible. Right. This is what our common
Mm-hmm.
sense tells us. This is what nature tells us. Nature doesn't lie. Right. You have calm water, which is level, testably, scientifically, measurably,
Mm-hmm.
provably flat, and it's too flat because we can see too far. If we live on a ball, there has to be curvature. So you mentioned gravity, and we were talking about gravity a little bit. So let's go back to gravity. Gravity is a theory. So if you have a theory, let's say your theory is that I don't know, you have some crazy theory, and 96% of the theory is wrong. What do you do with that theory? You throw it out. But know what they did with gravity? They said, well, 96% of it's wrong, so let's make up some dark matter and energy. No one's ever seen it, no one's ever measured it, but it has to be there if gravity is real. Therefore, we're going to add it. That's pseudoscience. That's what we're taught. They don't tell us that, but that's what we're taught. So they tell us that gravity is a weak force. All right. Well, if gravity's holding
Mm-hmm.
water down and gravity's holding the air down so the air doesn't fly off into space because gases expand in all directions to fill the available
Mm-hmm.
space, then how is it possible that when I'm close to Earth, where the gravity is the strongest, I could take a straw and I could drink water up and away from the Earth? I could suck air
Yeah.
up and away from Earth. How can I?
Because
How come the
gravity is a
gravity?
pretty weak, because the force of gravity is 9.8 meters per second. Well, that's the
So
acceleration of gravity is 9.8 meters.
well,
Times,
you're
so
quoting what
force
you
is
were
just
told that
acceleration times mass. Mm.
you're quoting what you were told that the average speed of something falling is 9.8 meters per second, and they're telling you that it's this fictional force of gravity. You know what else did they teach you about the electrostatic force? The electrostatic force
Mm.
is an actual force that can be measured. Is it not a theory? It's testable, scientifically provable, and they tell us the electrostatic force is 10 to the 39th power stronger than gravity. Well, we can test that. So the Earth itself has a negative or neutral
I
charge.
have
Go
to
ahead.
pause you just for a second to open the door for my little doggy who's being annoying and wants to go outside. Okay, continue. Sorry about that.
So so the Earth has a negative or neutral charge, and everything in the sky is a positive charge. So when you lift something up off the ground, it's now in that positive field. The Earth isn't moving, so the only way that a force can go is down. Now, that's not what makes it. That just establishes down. It's a weak force. But down is down. Down is down for me here. Down is down for you in Arizona. Down is the same down in Australia. Down is not up in Australia. Down is down.
So
Up is
what's
up.
what's causing the gravity? Like what's causing
So
us to be
I,
pulled
I'm going
down?
to explain. I'm going to explain. So the negative charge of the Earth. So how can we test this? Well, this is. Oops, that's not what I want to show you. This is a we got this triangle here, and we're putting a negative charge into it. When we put the negative charge into it, it lifts up away from Earth. Now, is that defying gravity or is that defying an electrostatic charge? Before you answer, let me show you something else. Okay? What's the opposite we can do? Here we have some, oops, again, I'm all over this. Here we have here we have some leftover party balloons, and we tied them to this little button at the end of this wire. So it's just neutrally buoyant. It's just sitting there at rest. And what we're going to do is this wire is hooked up to a Van de Graaff generator. We're going to add a positive charge to it. So we're going to make this have more of a positive charge. And as we do, what happens? It goes down. Now, did we add mass to it? No. Did we make it more dense? No. We changed its electric potential. We discharge it. It goes back up. Okay? So we're not defying gravity. We're defying the electrostatic force.
Okay.
Okay. This is a guy in Russia.
Can we don't go past that? Could you go back to that balloon experiment? Explain what you did again. So
Which one?
What did you put in the chart? The balloon experiment that you just went over.
Yeah. So we added a positive charge to the button.
So it's a button. You add
it's a little metal button.
Electric charge.
We add a positive charge. And if you look at the periodic table, every element that's heavier and heavier and heavier has a stronger and stronger positive charge.
Okay, and then you add Well, okay, isn't a positive charge just an absence of electrons? So if you're putting a negative charge on it, wouldn't you necessarily be adding?
There's really no negative charge. There's really no negative charge. It's a neutral charge, and that attracts a positive charge.
Well, you have protons, you have neutrons, and you have electrons.
Have you ever seen one?
So do you not believe in like protons, neutrons, electrons?
I haven't seen them. I'm not a fan of the atom theory.
Yeah. How do you know?
Atom theory is just like space.
How do you know?
Because we can measure it. We can measure it. I'm not saying I'm putting electrodes. I'm putting an electro charge. You can measure that there's an electric charge. So we're putting an electrostatic charge, and we're defying whatever's holding it down. Now, is that gravity or is that electrostatic charge? Science themselves, they love having their cake and eating it too. They agree that the electrostatic charge is way stronger than gravity. Way is the wrong word. It's just insanely stronger than gravity. And we're showing you that we can manipulate things going up and down. So what are we manipulating? What are we manipulating?
I think what you're doing there, if what I was taught in school gives me an understanding of what's happening in that experiment, what I would imagine is, I would say a negative charge is the adding of an electron. So like when you have an electric wire, the electric current running through it is electrons going through that wire. So what I would imagine is that wire added electrons to that button and therefore increased the weight of it and therefore brought it down.
Is that what you think?
Well,
so hang on a second. This has metal, it has weight, it should be held down by gravity. And what are we doing? Are we making it lighter than zero? Why is it going up? Why is this going up? And it's because we changed the electro. There's no wires. This is actually we're changing the electrostatic potential. And if you don't believe that, you can go and check out MIT now has has a thing that they call the silent drone, right? So this is a drone that has no moving parts. It weighs more than the air. So, I can see your argument saying, oh, you're adding electrons heavier. How are we making it lighter than nothing? This has got no moving parts, no noise, and it flies. And it's because it has negative, they changed its electrostatic charge. Again, so your argument there doesn't hold weight for the opposite.
Well, I would argue, right, that, if you're adding a positive charge, all you're doing is getting rid of electrons. So you're making something lighter. So anytime you make something lighter, you make its ability to float in air more easily. So if it was already lighter than the air's atmosphere, it's going...
How is this lighter than the air's atmosphere? Listen. I don't care
But
how
it's
much
kind
I
of like
change the
asking
electro.
how is a boat. It's kind of like asking how is a boat lighter than water. It's not necessarily that the boat is lighter than the water. It's just that it's more buoyant due to the way that the certain types of air that's in it and the air pockets
Explain
that
to
are
me
in it. And
how all of the physical material in here becomes lighter than the air. How does all the physical material of what it takes to build this thing become lighter than the air?
with lift.
What lift? Where? What lift?
So if you look at the way that that plane is structured, it seems to have a lot of pockets available for air to lift under through it.
There's
So the
no
way that
moving. There's not no moving parts.
how did
There's no
that plane
moving
take
parts, Lauren.
off? How did
There's no,
that plane take off?
it changes its electrostatic charge and it went up. Right. This is
So
stuff that they're hiding from us. I think we should move on from this because
so
you're
okay, let me ask you a question. Why haven't they made flying technology then that uses
right.
this technology? Well,
I I,
if
bel
some
I
okay,
I believe they
if
have.
any entrepreneur they okay, then why are we not using it? Wouldn't that be the most economically efficient thing?
Lauren, you're not understanding that this is why the globe lie exists. They're hiding technology. They're hiding our position in creation. They're hiding all sorts of things from us to keep us as slaves. They put us in a matrix. That matrix is the heliocentric globe. It stops us from realizing, hey, there's more out there. It stops us from realizing where we are. What if they, I believe that there's old technology. If you look at back into Tatarian research and stuff like that, that they had technology that gave them free energy. What if you didn't have to pay for electricity or fuel for your car or air conditioning or heat or anything? What if that
Okay.
all of that was free energy? So why
That would be
to
great.
say yeah? Well, did you ever look into the water car? A guy made a car that can run on water. Later, a couple months later, he got food poisoning and died. Fascinating. Why doesn't somebody? Why doesn't an entrepreneur do that? Do you know that if you make a machine that produces more energy than it uses, it's national security and you could be put in jail?
I have never seen a machine like that. I've seen someone try. Now, okay, to be fair, I have worked for a company that believes in all of the, somewhat worked for a company that believes in all of the stuff that you're preaching. Some people do anyway. So I've
Let's talk
seen
about
a
some things that
company
go ahead.
spend millions of dollars try to create like a free energy machine before. But the problem is all of these machines did end up requiring some sort of energy to get them started, to get going, whether it be just a
So
flick of the
so
finger or whatever.
if you haven't seen something, does that mean it doesn't exist?
Um, well, these are this. I understand what you're saying, and no. However, I haven't seen any proof that it could exist either. That
All
the
right, so
free
let's
energy
talk
could
about
exist.
let's get to something more physical that you really can't argue with. So if we
So,
live on a ball, what?
so do you believe energy can be created? Because like in school, I was taught energy cannot be created nor destroyed.
I know that energy can be pulled out of thin air because I do it all the time.
How?
See that machine?
Okay. Yeah, Tesla ball.
It pulls energy out of the ether.
Let me see. Isn't that just
It,
that's a Tesla ball, right? It makes like the static electric
it's not
shocks
just
with
a
your
Tesla. It
fingers.
doesn't shoot. Doesn't do that. It doesn't do that. It
What
it
does that
it.
do?
I don't want to talk about it now because that's not what we're here. But you're claiming things that you know nothing about. Nothing.
Okay, I'm sorry. And
So
I do have to say, your understanding of my education is really, really like you really understand what I believe. So I'm really trying to understand what you believe. At the same time,
well,
I'm
it's
trying
not
to be a
about
little
belief.
bit skeptical.
It's about knowing. Belief is the enemy of knowing. So if you have a ball, there is a rate of
Mm-hmm.
curvature. Okay.
Yeah.
So my mouth is behind the curvature. And so if
Mm-hmm.
you zoomed in, you still couldn't see my mouth because there's physical curvature. So the Earth is
Mm-hmm.
a little bigger than this ball, right? 24,901 miles around. And there's a formula that will tell you how fast it drops off. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So at 3 miles, according to the heliocentric ball, there's a 6 foot drop. So what does that mean? If a 6 foot tall person is standing at the edge of calm water, they should not be able to see the surface of the water beyond 3 miles because it drops below that physical horizon, right?
I mean, unless that particular spot. So, from my understanding, the Earth is pretty pear shaped. So, like, you could have some areas which are flat. You have hills. You have all sorts of different
Pear shaped. So
landscapes. Could
So you're listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson, the failed actor and alleged rapist, who said that the Earth is a bulging pear, and that the water bulges at the equator 14 miles high. Okay, 14 miles high. Now think about this: bulging water at the equator, 14 miles high. How high does a plane fly? A plane flies about 5 miles up, 5 to 7 miles. So when I'm flying from New York to Brazil, at what point does my plane triple its height just to skim across that hump of water? There's your pear that doesn't
well,
exist.
wouldn't be tripling in height if you were going. So, like, if there were some bump, you wouldn't be tripling in height. You would be going the same height if you go with
So
that.
gravity. So in your world, gravity follows that 14-mile hump.
Well, I'm saying, well, so for instance, if I were to take water and I fill it to the brim of a cup and you keep putting water in it, because of the way that you have hydrogen bonds in water, it can create some sort of a dome and bond to each other and actually it can make that
Lauren,
bubble.
if you're talking about
However, if you're
a cup
talking
of
about the
water,
plane, it wouldn't be going in your scenario about the plane going up in height. So long as you're going along with the surface, the plane's machinery would register the same height so long as you're going above that surface. It doesn't look at the surface in front of it, it looks at the surface below it.
you're making things up right now because no scientist says that.
What do you mean no scientist says
No
that
scientist
if
says
the
that
plane
that
were
14-mile high bulge of water follows the curve of
mm-hmm.
gravity. They say it's a bulge because it bulges out over the gravitational circle, the ridiculous gravitational circle of the world. There is no 14-mile bulge, and so you're thinking that a plane is going to climb up and then climb down it. 14 miles high. That's higher than Mount Everest. Okay, it's not.
What if it were more gradual than you're making it? Like, if it's a curvature, right? I would imagine it would be a very gradual. That's something that you wouldn't even notice over the
Let's get
climb
back to
of.
things that we can see ourselves and do. So, do you agree on a ball? There's physical curvature.
Yes, I do
So
agree
on
that.
and so you can check the numbers yourself later. But if you check them, and I'm right that 3 miles there's a 6 foot drop, a 6 foot tall person shouldn't be able to see the water beyond 3 miles. Right at 100 miles, there's a 6,600 foot drop. That's more than a mile. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how
Okay.
is it possible that a submarine can sit on the bottom of the ocean, send sonar out that goes straight, and then it bounces off of something and comes back, hits another submarine 100 miles away? There should be a mountain of earth between them over a mile high, but it doesn't. And the sonar doesn't go over, hit, and then come back. It just goes straight and comes back.
Why
That's
wouldn't it? Wouldn't it stay at like the same rate of the gravitational pull? I would imagine it would work the same way as if you shoot a gun.
You can imagine that, and the gun doesn't follow Earth's curvature either. Okay, but you can imagine it all you want. So let's take it above water. Okay, when you're looking at this is a picture that if you look, you'll just see sky, but you get an infrared camera out, which cuts through the haze of the atmosphere, and we can see Mount San Jacinto, and the very, very top is all you should be able to see. There should be over 7,000 feet of curvature from this viewing position, but we can see the entire mountain. Okay, we can see the entire mountain. That shows you that
Wait,
there's no
how do
curvature.
you know you can see the base? If like
We
is
can
it
because this
what
is
part? Okay, what
here's
part
another
of the mountain are we not supposed to be able to see? The
all
base,
of it,
right?
all of it.
Okay, we're not supposed to be able to see any of the
You
mountain
know,
from that
you're
location.
okay. Here, I'll give you a better one. So here's a spot in
Okay.
Aluja, France, And out
Okay.
here, 175 miles away, is Mount Canigou. And from this distance, according to globe math, from this height viewing, the very top of the mountain should be over a half a mile hidden below the curve. So we shouldn't be able to see any of it. And guess what? We can't. We can't, right? And the reason we can't is because the light that's bouncing off of it doesn't have enough power to push through all of the thick atmosphere. However, twice a year, when the sun's migrating in between the two tropics, twice a year it passes right in line with the viewer and the mountain. And when it does, as it moves beyond it, all of a sudden it backs and you can see it. Very right there where the mouse is, that top should be over a half a mile below the curve of the Earth. But it's right there. And it's not a mirage because
I'm not saying that it's a mirage,
I'm
but I
telling
don't
you.
think that curvature, right, in which you're describing is as is equal throughout the entire planet. I think that's a very average curvature. So like let's say that location have a valley and then back to the mountain, you would be able to see the mountain. Not every part of the earth is I understand what you're saying. So you're saying, okay, I get what you're saying. I just believe that the earth is not as predictable. As we're putting it into such simple, like, this is the number of the curvature, and therefore that has to apply at every single location of Earth's point. And then, okay, I do have one question. If we are flat, how come when I look up, all of the planets appear round, and the sun appears round, the moon appears round, everything appears round? Are the other ones round, or are they also flat?
Well, first you're assuming that the lights in the sky are terra firma, and that they're actual planets because Disney and NASA told you that, and they're basically the same company. So my question to you is: I'm looking at these three moons. Which
Okay.
one of them is not a sphere? Is this one a sphere?
Well,
It's a half a
we
sphere. How about this one? Is this one a sphere? Is this one a sphere?
probably not.
Well, what do you mean probably not? It looks like a sphere.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to pick it up, and the other side is not going to be a sphere.
So is
So,
it? So
but
is it half a sphere? Hold on, it's flat. How about this one? Is this one a sphere?
yeah, but it's shaded to not appear flat. Yes, like if
Yeah,
they
it's a
didn't
cup.
shade
It's
the
a cup.
coloring.
It's wrong. You're looking at it inverted. So my point is, you saying that the lights in the sky that we see are spheres. You have no proof of that. Now, to me, the moon looks like a sphere. But let me ask a question: you got any lights in your ceiling right now? You have any lights in your ceiling?
Yeah,
What shape are they?
circular.
Okay, is your floor circular also?
No.
Okay, so the lights in your sky have no relevance to the shape of your floor. Is this the sun or the moon, or
So,
is it
can I explain why people say that though? Like why people ask that question?
yeah?
Okay, because they see all of these other bodies, and all of these other bodies in our universe all appear to be circular. And yes, I can understand how there could be an optical illusion in which something appears to be spherical in which it's not, such as like the concave cup.
Such as
However,
this light.
if it were a concave cup, if it moved at all, we would, just like in the video that you played, when it moved, we were able to see it was no longer a sphere. And when we look up in the sky, all of the spherical shapes that we see, even though they move and they change in our sky, they always appear as spheres. So that's why people say, okay, if all of those in the sky are spheres, and why wouldn't the Earth also be a sphere?
Because we're not a light in the sky. We're terra firma.
Mm.
You know, when you look up in the sky and you say that they all look like spheres, this is what Mars really looks like. Have you ever taken the time to zoom in on Mars? This is Mars. This is an energetic body of some sort. Now, this might be a little bit out of focus,
It's
but this is what
gaseous.
Mars is. This is what Mars looks like, right? And when we look at
Mm.
other stars, they're none of them make any sense. When you do the actual math and math that describes things that are real. Like if I held a penny right here, you can see it. But if I moved it a mile
Mhm.
away, you couldn't see it. You know why you couldn't see it? I couldn't just see a penny at a mile away.
My vision's not that good.
Well, your eyes don't have the angular resolution to see something that small. Okay. And so we can
Mhm.
do the math and look at the stars that they tell us. For example, Polaris, they tell us is 433 light years away. We can, without doing the math right now, we can scientifically prove that if it was 2 light hours away or 2 light days
You have
away,
a
I'm sorry,
plan.
two
Mhm.
light days away, you couldn't see it. 2 light days,
Okay.
433 light years. So these lights in the sky that you have this belief that they're gigantic burning balls of gas in the vacuum, scientifically impossible, aren't. And that's provable. So what are they?
Then what
I
are
don't know what
they?
they're. I don't know. I can't touch them, right? I don't know what they
I
are.
love that. Can I tell you how much I love that answer? Because what you're saying is, I'm not going to BS you with a fake answer to appease you. I'm going to be real. I'm going to tell you what I know and what I don't know. And I really like that because I feel like, especially in the scientific community, um, when we don't have answers for things, we just make crap up. And so there's a lot of things I
Exactly.
think that can be explained by God, and the scientific community has shoved in holes of, okay, well, this is only explainable by God. So we'll, and I have seen the scientific community do that before.
That's all they
Um,
do.
but I think this is very interesting. Keep going. Tell me. I just wanted to tell you how much I
Do you
appreciated your honesty in what you knew and what you did not know, and
do
also
you know your
Antarctica
planets?
is a man's land. Do I?
Do you know your
My very eager mother just sold us 9 pizzas, so my is Mars, Mercury.
Well, no,
This
no,
is
no, no,
her
no, 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 no. I said, do you
Mercury.
know your
Mine's
planets? Like
very
what
Venus,
planet
Earth.
is this? What planet is this?
Uh, is it Neptune?
No, it's supposed to be Jupiter. Is it Jupiter or Neptune or not a planet? Let me give you a
I
close
would assume
look.
not a planet.
It's a
It's
meadow
a.
with some ducks. Okay. So
Oh,
you
okay.
see, people can see what they want to see, right? This is NASA. They painted this and they use this all the time in many,
That looks more
many
like
scenes.
Jupiter.
Yeah. Well, it's a painting. It's a three dimensional painting.
Oh, don't die on me. Oh gosh, drink. Speaking of mugs, we need merch soon. We're gonna get some Lauren DeLaguna mugs. You got some Flat Earth
It's all
Dave
down the wrong
mugs
pipe.
out there?
I do. If you go, I'll show you in a minute, but you don't want the mugs. You want the t-shirts. The t-shirts
Okay.
are the best. So check us out. 2014. This is the picture of Jupiter. Looks kind of like that model.
Mhm.
And 2016, we take another picture. Look, we got the Northern Lights. Does that look like the
Hmm.
Northern Lights to you? Now look, every cloud is the same. Look how lazy NASA is, or are they testing how stupid we are? Okay, these are official NASA photos, 2 years apart, on a planet that's supposedly gas spinning and just
Well, I don't think the particles moved out of place. Like for instance, that dot, right? Doesn't that have a name? What is the name of that dot? Like Jupiter's
it's called
eye,
the
or
yeah. Well,
it's
it's the
supposed to be
never
like
ending
three
storm.
times, and it's supposed to be like 3 times the size of Earth or something like that. Just
Now,
that little dot.
a moment ago, Lauren, you just said I don't think the gases move. This is what NASA showed us over a couple of
Wait, when did I
days
say
as
gases move? Gases
well.
definitely move. If I ever said
Okay,
that, that was wrong.
but I showed you that all the clouds were in the same place, and you kind of defended how they could be. This is what NASA
No,
shows
but
us. Just let me finish what I'm
okay, yeah.
saying. This is what NASA shows us over a couple of days. Look at all of the movement. This is over a couple of days. They just showed you something
Okay,
over
I
two
get what
years
you're
apart.
saying. Okay. Go back to the two pictures that are supposed to be identical, if you don't mind, please. Because, like, if you look at that image, where did you get that 2014, 2016 imagery from?
NASA.gov.
Okay, let's look for if Henry can look for that image on
You know what? This
NASA.gov.
isn't the time or place to start researching because the researching is going to take you years. and I'm going to show you
No,
where you
I
can
just
get
want to
all of that.
see. Yeah, I want to see where I could get that exact image because I want to look at
You
that a
just
little bit more.
That's a good idea. That's good. Don't believe anything I say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the, the stuff that they show us is absolutely laughable. Joke. It's just absolute insanity. What is this one? This is that's the thing again. Um,
You know
this is a
what?
this is a picture
Mhm.
they gave us of Pluto. Isn't that weird that Pluto has like a desert shaped like the dog Pluto? You think that they're mocking us?
What wasn't Pluto the dog named after Pluto the planet?
I don't know. Maybe the planet was named after the dog. They're both named in the same year.
Is that true?
Yeah. So we're gonna Google for the rest of the show.
Oh no! Oh, sorry. I wanted to show whatever you wanted to show. Sorry, I didn't want it to interrupt your train of thought. Go ahead, continue with your train of thought.
No, I'm gonna just kind of wrap it up here. If you want to know the truth about our world, if you want to know your true place in this world, if you want to know your true power, if you want to live to your full potential, which is what the elite, the ones that call themselves elite, don't want us to do. You know, they don't teach us vortex mathematics or sacred geometry. They teach us stuff to make us good accountants and good slaves in their organizations. And they don't want us to know that our thoughts create our reality. They don't want us to know that there's more, that there is possibly way more. Here, this is my app. It's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. Just here's something. And again, I'm not claiming this is real, but it's scientifically possible. It's possible that the world is set up like this. We live here. This ring is Antarctica. And out here beyond Antarctica is more land, extra territory, extra terra in the outer space, extraterrestrials from the outer space here, just thousands of miles away, not infinitesimal light years, okay? In trillions of miles, which don't exist, okay? All here on our Earth, right? So if you want to learn about all of this stuff, everything's here. Every question you can have, if you hit the question mark, questions, here are all the questions that you could ever ask. You know, what about the ISS? What about other space agencies? What about seasons? Seasons prove the Earth is flat. Click that button, and up comes a whole list of videos that Google is hiding from you. And here's the thing: don't just believe a video. Look at it, think about it, go out, test it, measure it yourself. We don't need liars that say they're in space to tell us what this Earth is with their CGI and their nonsense. We've caught them in all of their stuff. I mean, I could do hours and hours and hours showing you them using green screens and hanging from wires and using augmented reality on the International Fake Station. I could show you all of that, and then you'll know that it's not real. We're here. We can measure this stuff ourselves. We don't need to go to space to prove the Earth is flat. Okay, it's
I'm not
scientifically,
even
testably,
disagreeing
measurably,
with
provably
you.
flat.
I'm not
Well,
even
I don't know.
disagreeing with you that NASA lies a lot because I
It lies
personally
about
don't believe.
everything.
Yeah, like I personally
Everything.
don't believe in global warming. So a lot of the times when I'm trying to explain why I scientifically don't believe in global warming, I'm sure a lot of people treat me very much like round earth believers treat you sometimes. And I don't
Well,
think, you know,
you know what?
go ahead.
These are the blue dots. These are people that have my app and are on the friend finder. You can literally tap on any dot and message people and find people near you and everything. But all of these dots agree with you. None of them believe in global warming because it's a hoax. It's nonsense, right? Man-made
Mm.
global warming. Yes, there is climate change. It's the natural cycle of our world. Yes, we shouldn't pollute. Absolutely, we shouldn't pollute. But to think that man is changing the weather by driving cars and stuff. Yeah, they're doing stuff in the sky that's affecting us and the weather and all sorts of stuff, but it's not us. It's all a complete and total hoax. So if you think flat Earth is stupid, tell all these people they're stupid, okay? Because this is
Well,
only a fraction of the people that know.
we are definitely going to get questions in chat. So I definitely want to start taking those questions now. The
Well, let's
wonderful
do it
producer
because we're gonna let's take some questions. And here's another thing. There is a
Okay.
team of dedicated trolls that follow me everywhere. They spend their entire lives
Uh,
following me everywhere to say the dumbest things ever. So
that's
anyone
awful. I'm
yeah.
really sorry that you're dealing with that.
No,
And
no,
I
I don't care
really,
about
don't like
here,
trolls. I have my own
so,
trolls.
here's something in the app. If you click the web button and you go to scroll down, debunking the debunkers. So you click that button, and up come a list of videos that they don't want you to see. But I recommend the first two. One with this guy Bryant, and the other one with the failed musician that calls himself a professor, Professor Dave, and my interview with him. I encourage you to watch this independent breakdown teaching you about logical fallacies and ad homs. It's one of the best debunking videos out there. But anytime you say, well, National Geographic figured it, well, no, check out the National Geographic one right here, and we'll show you them lying. And then once you understand that they're all lying to hide this, you can ask yourself why. And why is what I was explaining before. They're hiding your divinity.
Okay, so STL is asking you to explain the differences in the arc seconds of Foucault's pendulum on the Earth's flat model. Doesn't a ring laser gyroscope prove Earth's rotation?
Absolutely not. So the Foucault's pendulum has a mirror in it, and sometimes they go in the wrong direction. They're actually they don't work at all. They don't prove anything. And in reality, they should really work at the North Pole and the South Pole if there was a South Pole. The other thing is about the ring laser gyro. The ring laser gyro measures that something is spinning, and then we did a second test with it from a different altitude, and that because it went at a different rate at a different altitude, proved that it's not the Earth that's spinning, that it's the ether.
What country is in the very center of the map?
Well, it's not Alaska and Norway are both close to the center. There's no country there. There used to be on maps, they used to show it as ice or land, but now they show it as water. No one's allowed to go there, so it's hard to say.
Okay, why does the sun only move 15 degrees across the sky every hour, no matter where one is on the planet?
Well, that's actually not true, because when you watch the sun, it is moving, and it's moving through what we call your personal atmospheric dome. But if you watch it on a clear day, and let me show you, when it's near sunset or sunrise, it stops going down or stops going up. So let me show you right here. So that's not it. This is a shot on a cold day. The sun was up here, and it went, and in like 5 minutes times, it went down, 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 down. Now, if the Earth was spinning, it would just keep on going, but it didn't. It went down, 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 and then it stopped. And it sat here for 10 minutes. Now, this is sped up super fast, okay? It's sped up. Now, it sped up, and it stopped going down. It stopped going down. Now, my friends down here at the beach saw the sun set from the bottom up, and it just went away, and it took its light with it, okay? So that is not 15 degrees per hour. It stopped. Mm-hmm. But the optics of the sky, again, are no way to prove the shape of the Earth. Optics of the sky are completely and totally explainable when you look at it this way.
My friend David Walsh wants to understand how compasses work.
Oh, very easy. So let's go back here. A compass at the center of flat Earth. So here, let me show you. This is actually better. Here we go. And give me a second. Where is it? All right. So at the center of the flat Earth is a magnetic force. Some people think it's a mountain. There's a magnetic force there. I think it's a mountain. Let's just say it's a mountain. And so here I have, it could be a plane or a boat or just a compass, and I'm pushing it around. I'm trying to push it west. Now that needle is pointing towards the center. So west is a circle because I have to keep turning or I'll be going south, right? So now I'm pushing it east, right? That the needle points to the center the whole time. So east is a circle. Now, again, this doesn't prove the Earth is flat or a globe. It proves that east and west are circles. Now, if I try to dead reckon, watch carefully, if I try to dead reckon west and I don't correct to the north, as soon as I start moving, I'm heading south. South is every direction away from the center. Okay? So that's how a compass works. Now, if you're on the side of a ball, you got your magnetic force coming out of the top of the ball, and you're on the side with your compass, how come your compass doesn't point diagonally through the Earth? How compasses have to be level? They work on a level plane. That's how it works.
Mm. What influenced you into researching the flat Earth?
I was dragged in kicking and screaming. I was tired of people saying it. And then I banned people from my social media for even suggesting that I look at it because it's the dumbest thing ever. But then my good friend, Sophia Smallstorm, she said, Dave, you got to look into this. And she sent me a couple of videos and I watched the videos. I'm like, all right, interesting, but I'm just going to disprove this. And I went in with a closed mind, trying to disprove flat Earth, prove the globe. And that's how you become a globe skeptic at the minimum. And, you know, when I say flat, the Earth is a level horizontal topographical plane. That's what I mean by flat.
Well, that is definitely the way. If you're going to try to prove something, the way to prove it is by not believing it at first. That's actually true.
Right.
Okay, doesn't light refracting around the Earth's curvature show the sunset and shows mountains in the distance?
You know, you love screaming about refraction, but refraction will create a fatagormana, I'm spacing on the word right now. Mirage, which is a wavy, upside down, nonsensical thing. We looked across Lake Michigan. We could see Chicago, and they say it tells us it's a mirage. So we got on a boat, we got a camera, we zoomed in on it. Now, if it's a mirage, as we move closer and closer, that mirage should disappear. It didn't. It stayed there the whole time. Okay, that's because we're looking across a flat lake at buildings. We shouldn't be able to see the very tops of those buildings. I think the very, very top should be showing, but we can see all of them, and it's not a mirage. So it's scientifically provably not a mirage. And the only thing that Globers can say is, oh, refraction. Refraction's amazing, right? It makes things refract up just the right amount, no matter their distance. The farther away they are, the more they refract up, and everything magically stops at eye level. Okay? Absolutely insanity. If you look at like this simple image right here, this is we call it the black swan. We can see the surface of the water well beyond this second rig. We know how far this rig is because it's not moving. It's 9.4 miles away. There should be 59 feet of curvature because the camera's 1 foot off the water. There should be 59 feet of curvature hiding this, but we can still see the surface of the water beyond it. There is no curvature. It's that.
What do you think of this book recommendation?
What book?
It says, ask Lauren if she's heard of the book called 16 Emergency Landings that prove that the Earth is flat.
Yeah. So let's look at just a couple of those real quick. So the southern flight routes make no sense on a flat Earth. Check this one out. This is even a northern flight route from LA to Heathrow, and this is how they tell you, oh, it's a great circle route, and it's going here. Like it's following this really weird curve, okay? And it's crossing over the tip of green, right? But if we look at it on a flat Earth map, we go over all the same points of land, straight line. Do airplanes fly over a globe or they fly over a plane? Airplanes fly straight and level over the Earth plane, all right? So the book they're talking about is called...
Okay, go ahead.
The book they're talking about is called 16 Emergency Landings Prove Flat Earth. So let me just show you one or two of these, and then maybe you'll be like, wow, that's very interesting. So here's a flight to Fiji from New York, right? It's going right about here. You can see here's Fiji right here. Not Fiji, I'm sorry, Auckland, New Zealand. And they had an emergency and they landed in Fiji. Why did they go to Fiji? Why'd they go to Fiji? Well, if we look at it, they went to Fiji because Fiji's right here on a flat Earth map. How come every time there's an emergency landing, we draw a line and the place where they stop is right on the route? Here's one. This is a really good one. From Hong Kong, they were going all the way to the UK, but they stopped in Germany. 12 hours and 4 hours into the flight, right about here, a family was traveling together and mom died right in her seat. Dead. 4-year-old, 10-year-old, father sitting next to the mother, dead. And they don't land the plane. They could have landed here. They could have landed in 50 airports, but they didn't. Why didn't they? Because the answer is because that's not where they were. If you draw a line from Hong Kong to London, right, this is where they were. They were over Russia the whole time. They can't land in Russia because Russia's a bad guy. And what are we doing over Russia, right? This is where they are. Okay. And so they landed in Frankfurt. After 8 hours, don't you think they could have just finished the trip and gone to London? Right? It makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense whatsoever. Here's another one from Chicago to Doha, right? There was an emergency right about here. They went like 1,500 miles out of the way to go to Moscow. How did they get there in 15 minutes? And the answer is because Moscow is right on their flight route on a flat Earth. Every time there's an emergency landing, the emergency landing is right on the line to the flat Earth. How many do you need before you start realizing that they're lying about the flight routes, they're lying about the map, they're lying about everything?
Why don't you get like a pilot's license and see for yourself?
I don't need it. We have tons of pilots. I'm talking to an American Airlines captain and another a guy that I don't want to tell you his position to figure out who he is. These guys all know. They all know, but they know that if they talk about it, they lose their jobs, they lose their livelihood, they lose their families, they lose everything. All right, so they're not
all
talking
pilots
about it.
Know this?
No,
all pilots are aware of this?
No, most are just bus drivers. They take off, they land, they look at the GPS, they read books. They're not looking. They don't know. We interviewed a KLM pilot on the show Globebusters, and she showed us everything, videos, everything. Talked about how the gyroscopes work, everything. The Earth is flat. It's not moving. It's not spinning. The runways aren't moving sideways below them at an hour when you land in Ecuador. Okay. And the next day she was fired. She was grounded and then I guess let go, but she was grounded. So again, people don't want to speak out because they like their lives. Hey, I got a good job. I like my job. I don't want to do this. And you speak out. Look at Kyrie Irving. He lost all of his started losing sponsors, so he backed it off. Shaq, same thing. He backed it off. Right. Lots of people are coming out, but then they back off. Right. There's a lot of people out there. Kelsey Grammer, Amy Irving, Justin Bieber. They're all flat earthers. They know, but they're afraid of losing their money.
Okay. That's fair. Well,
and I'm offering here. I got some money. I have some money for you guys. I'm offering money to anybody out there that can give me one globe proof. Get my app every day. Watch the daily video right here. Tap. Watch the daily video for 2 weeks. After that, if you have one globe proof, you win 3,000 ounces of silver or 3 Bitcoins. Your choice.
Do you have 3 Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Really? You have 3 Bitcoin. How much is that worth right now?
It's like worth 60 grand. Okay. So just here's the thing. I'm not going to lose my Bitcoins. I'm not going to because the Earth is flat. I'm not an idiot.
What would it take for someone to
show actual physical curvature, show axial rotation, show me how you can have high pressure next to no pressure without a physical barrier? Okay. Show me any of those things, right? The only thing that the Globers have is they go, well, you can't see Polaris from, the south. Well, actually, there's been many sightings as far as 30 degrees south. That's impossible. It's just like if you and I were in a room, right? We're in a room, 10-foot high ceilings, nice big room, and we're looking at the lights and we draw, hey, look, there's a cup there and there's a bull there and there's a snake there. And we draw all the constellations. And then all of a sudden I span that room to the size of a city. And I say, go that way 5 miles. And so you go 5 miles away. I can't even see you because a half a mile away or less, the ceiling has merged with the floor and I can't see anything else. It literally merged together due to perspective. And there's no atmosphere that I'm dealing with like we are on a bigger scale. And I call you on your cell phone and I say, hey, look up at the lights. Do you see the bull, the snake, the crab? You see all the stuff that we just... No, I see completely different lights. I'm like, you can't see the lights that I see? And you'll be like, no, I can't. Well, you can't see me? No, I can't. I see a horizon. Then the room must be a sphere. Okay? That's the logic. That's the logic that you use. I used to use that logic. It's retarded. We're all retarded because we went to that de-education, indoctrination Rockefeller camps. And they didn't teach us to think. When I tell people, the closest star is 25 trillion miles away, and if you're traveling at a mile per second for a trillion seconds, you know how far you've gone? You know how long you've been traveling? If you're traveling a mile per second for 1 trillion seconds, how long is that? How long in time is that? A mile per second. 1 trillion seconds. You went a trillion miles, but how long is 1 trillion seconds in days, weeks, months, or years? Whatever you want. Use any increment you want. Yes.
I have no
idea. So take a guess. Take a guess.
6 weeks.
On 6 weeks? You want to take a second guess? I'll tell you. You measure it in
A
years.
year, 6 years.
6 years, very close. 31,000 years. Okay. Now your brain can't even calculate that. 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. The closest star is 25 trillion miles away. So if you're traveling at a mile per second, which no one's ever gone that fast, for 31,000 years, you're 1/25th of the way to the closest star. And you think you could see that star? You're 1/25th of the way there. You got to do that 24 more times to get to the closest star. And the other ones are magnitudes farther. This is absolute retardation of the human mind. And they've done it with all of the stuff that they stick in us and they put in us, and the water and the chemicals. And the dumbing down. They don't teach us to think. They want us to believe and fight for our slavery. And the thing is, well, everyone can't be in on it. No, you don't need everyone in on it. You just need everyone so deep down indoctrinated into the thing that they'll defend it. And they'll make up stuff. They'll just make up and say things to defend it, and because they don't want to think about it. They don't want to actually do the work. The earth is level, stationary. We're at the center of creation, and that's it. And if you have a problem with that, go enjoy your ball. Go live your life, okay? But you're not going to live it to its true potential.
And you think, okay, first of all, who is they that's hiding this knowledge and like is able to get pilots fired? And then what is it? Do you know what reason it is that they're hiding it? Obviously, hiding technology, hiding resources and land. But wouldn't they make a lot of money by like selling those resources and land if they're in hiding? How can they sell it?
So they don't need money. They create money. Money is just a way to control us. It's monopoly money, right? They don't need it. They use it to control us. And if you don't believe me, it's monopoly money. Go get all the bills and line them up, and with the monopoly money, they're the same color. Okay, they're literally rubbing it in our faces, right? And so the people that we know, are the Council of Foreign Relations, the United Nations, the Trilateral Condition, all of these guys. These are the puppets of the real controllers. Who are they? I don't know. Where do they live? I think they live beyond Antarctica. Maybe they live in North Korea, because you'll never know, because we're not allowed to go there. Could be like Disneyland there. Who the heck knows? We don't know what's even in the middle of our world, let alone the outside of our world. And if you ask me why the lie, I mean, I've told you already. They're hiding technology. They're hiding everything. They're hiding your divinity, right? And so why would they lie? Here's the thing. There's three laws. There's divine law, which is the law of God. There's common law, which is the law of the land. And there's statute law, admiral maritime law, which is the law of the courts. And if they can get you down here, they can convince you that you're not divine, that you're not in a divine creation. Then they can control you with this man-made nonsense. Okay?
So
none of this applies to you. No, I am a free human being, and nobody can take. God gives me my rights. Governments don't give me my rights. They don't tell me what I can and cannot do. Okay?
So
God
do you have a driver's license?
I do, but that's because I'm in the system. And if I was born now knowing what I know, I probably wouldn't have one. But the thing is, you got to pick and choose your battles. And I do what I want, but I don't drive. I travel in my personal conveyance, my personal property. So if someone says, hey, you're driving, I'm like, I'm not driving. That means I'm operating commercially on the road. Okay. And I'm not in a commercial business. I am traveling in my own personal conveyance. And so if I wanted to, I could drive without plates, drive without insurance, drive without all of that, and push them in court and win. Okay. But I don't want to do that. Okay. And also, if I crack up and hit somebody, injure somebody, it's good that I have insurance. Okay. So I'm not a total.
I have to say, I'm not an attorney. I have to say that. So I can't say that this is legal advice. But anyway, I understand. So you're saying you don't need any of that to. And you've heard that people refer to people who believe in this type of belief as sovereign citizens, correct?
That's a whole nother thing. You're taking it to another level. There people just believe that when a police officer comes up to you that you have to obey. That's not true. Like the police say, I've gotten into some issues over like where I'm allowed to kite surf. I'm not talking about a crime or anything. And they asked me for my ID, and I'm not giving it to you. I don't have to give it to you. And I'll argue with the cop, and finally he'll get a supervisor here. The supervisor's like, yeah, he's right. He doesn't have to give it to you. Okay. And then they leave me alone, and I go, and they respect me after that, because I don't just cave to nonsense. Again, here's the thing. When you wake up to the reality of our world and you start learning the real rules of the world, and you start learning that, hey, these elite aren't allowed to lie. They're not allowed to break my free will. Now they can trick me, but they always have to give me a fighting
Okay.
chance. And guess what? Because they give me clues and stuff, I see them. I'm awake. I'm learning new stuff every day. I don't see everything, but I see a lot more than, well, a ton more than the sleeping sheeple. So again, life is absolutely amazing. It's magical, and they don't want you to know that.
Okay. A random question, maybe seeming to come out of left field here.
Where
But
can
do
you get
you
all this
believe
information? FlatEarthDave.com. That's where you can get it all. Get the app. All right, good.
do you
Shameless plug.
believe in extraterrestrials, and do you believe that they have been on Earth if you believe them?
So, so I'll say it again. If and I, my personal belief is that there are people from the extra terra. Where is that extra terra? What if the world, Lauren, pay attention, was set up like this? We live here, okay? We live here in the center of this pond. And there's more
Mm.
land outside here, and there's more land outside here, right? And then there's oceans or whatever, frozen land. We don't know what this is. And then there's another pond, another pond, another pond, another pond. All of these circles are other ponds, and they all have their own local sun. Okay. So these would be extra worlds. These would be territories, extra world. The extra terror could be right in our pond. But out here, this could be a piece. You know what you call a piece of the plane? This is a big plane we're on. A piece of the plane is called a planet.
Mm.
Planet.
Mm.
Fascinating, right? And so if somebody wanted to come visit us from here, what is this? 50,000 miles, 100,000 miles, maybe less. Okay, that's nothing compared to the trillions and trillions of miles, right? Right? So extraterrestrials literally can come here, abduct us, probe us, and make it back in time for dinner with their kids. Okay? So all of this is scientifically possible. I'm not claiming any of this is real, but there's a lot of
Right.
evidence that there is something like this. And this is scientifically possible. We want the right to explore our world, our God given world. We're divine creations within this world. Who the hell are these unelected people that are telling us what we can and cannot do and what we need to do to our sovereign body? It's absolute insanity what people put up with.
What is the worst and best round Earth theories that you've heard?
The worst, everything about the globe is scientifically impossible. We're a rock, a
Mm.
lumpy rock surrounded by water that becomes round, surrounded by air adjacent to a void. You can't have a void, right? And you say, well, gravity's holding the air down. Here's a simple experiment. You got a like a fish tank box, right? And it's got a trapdoor on the top and bottom, electronic trapdoor, and you put it on the ground. It's filled with just regular air. Then you put another one, seal it on top of that. It's got the trapdoors also. And you take out 10% of the air. So it's 90%, 80%, 70, 60, all the way up to zero. So now you have this stacked gradient separated by physical barriers of different pressures. I press a button, all of those trapdoors open. What happens? All of the air will instantly equalize, violently equalize up and away from gravity. That disproves gravity holding air down. Okay? Period.
Well, no. Well, okay. So the way that wind works is like the air pressure following
I'm not talking
different
about
temperatures.
wind.
And
I'm
I
talking
understand.
about
Okay.
high pressure next to low pressure. And you could do this yourself. Don't believe me. Don't make up anything about it. Do it yourself, and you'll see that it will go. Get a box, right?
I don't. I'm not saying that you're lying because I do believe that will happen because I do believe that air, like gaseous spaces, go into whatever area that they can be. So gas will fill up a room. So if there's a void, so if you suck air out and so you create a void, then gas will run to try to fill that void. So I
Why doesn't it
do
go up to
believe that
space?
would happen. Well,
Why does it go up?
it does, like it does go up to space. We do have different layers of gas, and then we also have the ozone layer. And so I understand what you're
Okay.
saying,
So hold on.
but
Let me
I
let me
don't
show you a quick
believe that the
example.
gravitational force is as strong, right? So the gravitational force weakens as you go up. So
So why
if
doesn't the air go into space then? If it's weaker, how come the air doesn't go to space? You're
okay,
fighting the
I
wrong
see what you're
argument. You're
saying.
fighting it the opposite way. So here, let me ask a question. This is the balloon. Okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
hanging down. It's a balloon. Okay, how come gravity isn't pulling it and stretching the rubber down like this? How come gravity isn't pulling? Because it's not gravity is not strong
Because
enough,
there's
right?
more forces going up.
Well,
Yes.
no, it's
Because there's
because the
more
strength of the
elastic
rubber
force.
is stronger than the gravity. Correct?
Yes.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
watch this. What is the air trying to do? It's trying to escape in all directions, including up. How come
And
gravity
down.
isn't holding it down? It's trying to escape in all different directions. If I got rid of the balloon, poof, the air is going to go in every single direction. How come our air in space? Okay,
I
you
would
have
say
to
it'd have
think about
more
these
of a
things.
gravitational pull downward, but it would have a gravitational pull. It would have a pull to fill any void. However, I believe it would also have that gravitational pull downwards. That gravitational pull downward would have the effect that it has, and then you have to look at the forces on the body. So, like if the gravitational force is weaker than the force that is causing the molecules to want to fill the void, then some molecules are going to go up and some are going to go down. I would imagine more would go down due to the gravitational pull.
All right, so all I can say is go to my website, flatearthdave.com,
Yeah.
watch the videos there, watch the documentaries, watch the one about the military, all the military whistleblowers, all the pilots. Watch the one, watch that stuff, and then research as much as you want. But the Earth is a level stationary plane, and the fact that trolls follow me everywhere is
I don't
hysterical.
like that. I
It's
think that's
okay. It's all right
awful.
whether you like it or not. It's fine. It doesn't matter. They're sad
Are
little
they here?
trolls.
Are they in
Oh
my
yeah,
chat? Have
yeah, absolutely,
you
absolutely.
seen them?
I have the trillion in your chat. All he's got nothing on his channel, and all he does is follow. He literally, I want to hire one of these guys to let me know where all my videos are because I go on so many shows, I lose track. These guys know before I do. It's kind of amazing.
Oh wait, that's terrible. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that. I have my own little
Nah,
hater
don't worry
group
about it. It's
too.
actually hysterical. They actually inspire me to make better videos. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel bad. This trillion person really doesn't have a life of their own. They see that you have something, that you have a passion for something, that you
Oh,
have
they're
a
so sad.
drive,
They're so
that you're
sad. It's
asked to go
unbelievable.
somewhere. They're so jealous. They really are. They're jealous people. I appreciate your time so much. Thank you so
All
much
right.
for coming.
FlatEarthDave.com.
Alrighty.
Check out the app. It's $3, right? There's an $11 a year subscription if you want to be able to contact other people. It keeps the trolls away. And people are using it as a job site, as a dating site, as a friend finder, to set up meetups, all sorts of stuff. It's truly an amazing resource to bring us together because together we are stronger and they want us divided. They want us wearing, ritual shame muzzles and they want us not looking at each other and being afraid of each other. The opposite is true.
I agree. I
All
agree.
right.
Down with the government. Just kidding.
Thank you.
But bye, Dave.
All
All
right. Bye
right.
bye.
Thanks, everyone in chat. Thanks for coming. And I hope you have a good night, everyone.